All right, everyone, get ready, because today we are taking a deep dive into the music world, specifically Justin Bieber. And I know what you might be thinking, not another Bieber breakdown, but trust me, this is different. We're diving deep into those early days, particularly the whole Diddy connection, just like you asked. We're talking about that video that resurfaced, those lonely lyrics, the works.
You know, it's fascinating how this goes way beyond just celebrity gossip, right?
Yeah.
It really makes you think about what it means to become famous so young. And Bieber was, what, only 15 when One Time blew up?
Seriously, just 15. I can't even imagine. You've got Usher, Scooter Braun, these huge names in his corner, but then you throw Diddy into the mix and it's like, whoa, what's going on? Especially given those charges against Diddy.
Yeah, it adds a whole other layer to it for sure. Seeing that old footage of Diddy with the young Bieber, especially with Diddy talking about legal guardianship, hits different now with everything that's come out.
It's kind of unsettling, though. Like, was that normal back then?
Right.
To have someone like Diddy, who's now facing charges for things like sex trafficking, talking about guardianship over Bieber, what was really happening behind the scenes?
It's a question worth asking for sure. Even without bringing up Diddy's legal situation now, even back then, it was a situation where you just think about the power dynamics at play, especially with someone so young as Bieber was. And, you know, we're talking about an industry where it's all about who you know and the influence you have.
And talk about influence, right? You gotta talk about the lyrics in Lonely. Fans are convinced Bieber's dropping hints about some tough times he had with Diddy way back when. Those lines about feeling sick and like no one gave a says while everyone's watching.
Yeah, when you listen to Lonely now, with everything we know about Diddy's legal troubles, it does make you wonder if that's Bieber's way of dealing with a past that's not so pretty. And don't forget that post Bieber made on X, what was it called before, right? Twitter. He talked about how personal and how raw it was to go back to those memories for the song.
Oh yeah, and the fan reactions are intense. People are drawing direct lines between those lyrics, that old video, and what's happening with Diddy now. It's like they're putting a puzzle together, sparking some very serious conversations.
It's not just speculation either. Bieber's been really open about the downsides of his journey, how much pressure fame put on him, how it affected him. Remember back in 2020, that interview where he said if he hadn't made some changes, he might not even be here.
Right. He called himself self-destructive. Makes you realize how much darker things can be behind those picture-perfect pop star images.
Absolutely. And this is where we start to see the bigger picture, right? The kind of pressure child stars deal with, how easily they can be taken advantage of, and how much those early years stick with them. It's something that needs a closer look, which is exactly what we're here to do.
It's wild. We put these young stars up on a pedestal, shower them with all this attention, all this money,
Yeah.
and then we're surprised when things go off the rails.
It's tricky. No easy answers. On the one hand, you've got incredible talent thrown into the spotlight, dealing with all the pressure of the industry, of people watching their every move. On the other, you have this environment that's not exactly known for protecting its own, especially when you have people in power who might take advantage of someone young and vulnerable.
And let's be real, the entertainment world has a bad track record,
Yeah.
right? Chewing up young stars and spitting them out.
Yeah, it's true. Think about it. The constant need to look perfect, no privacy, their work life and personal life totally blurred together. It's a lot for anyone, let alone someone who's still figuring out who they are as a person.
And it's not just the industry, though, is it? Like, we're part of this, too, the fans. How we obsess over celebrity news, all the rumors, the pressure we put on them to be perfect, it all adds to this insane pressure cooker they're living in.
That's a really important point. We have a responsibility here, too, as fans. We can't ignore the role we play in all of this.
Totally. Okay, but before we go full-on doom and gloom about fame, remember that story Khloe Kardashian told about the Diddy parties?
Oh, yeah, those were infamous. Remind me about that story.
Oh, man, she was telling Courtney about this one party. Half the people there were butt naked, and guess who else happened to be there? Young Justin Bieber.
Wow. It's just a glimpse, but it speaks volumes about what Bieber was around at such a young age. And we can't say for sure what impact it all had, but it's definitely part of his story.
It really makes you wonder what those kinds of experiences do to someone so young long-term.
It's something a lot of child stars struggle with, you know, making sense of what they went through, especially with adults. It's like the lines get all blurry between mentorship, using someone, even friendship. It makes it that much harder to process those years.
And that's what makes this whole conversation so important. This isn't just about Bieber and Diddy. It's about understanding what it's really like to be famous, especially when you're young. Seeing the warning signs of exploitation, how crucial it is to have a good support system, and how we as fans play a role in all of this.
Exactly. We may never have all the answers, but by asking the tough questions, by talking about these uncomfortable truths, maybe we can at least start having more honest conversations about fame, who's accountable, and making sure young artists are okay.
I don't know about you, but my head is spinning a little bit. We got to remember, right in the middle of all of this, there's a young guy who's just trying to navigate a world most of us can't even imagine.
That's right. It's easy to get lost in the headlines, all the what ifs, but at the end of the day, this is about a person and how fame, especially young fame, can really impact someone.
So let's try to tie this all together. We covered a ton today. Started with your question about Bieber and Diddy, that video, and what it all might mean, especially with Diddy's legal stuff. Then we got into those lonely lyrics, trying to figure out if they're about that time or if people were just reading into things. And of course, we talked about what it's like to be a child star in general, the pressure, the possibility of being taken advantage of, how long those early years can stick with you.
And I think we brought up some hard truths about the music industry itself, how much power and influence matter, and what we as fans are responsible for, too.
Which brings us to the big question, right? What do we do with all of this? How do we look at what Bieber went through and think about the bigger picture of fame and using people in the industry?
Yeah, that's something that stays with you, isn't it? I think the biggest takeaway here is we just need to be more aware. We have to educate ourselves and each other about what can go wrong with early fame, how to spot bad situations, and how important it is for young artists to have people they can rely on.
And maybe, just maybe, by being open about this stuff, by talking about the messed up parts, we can start making things safer, more supportive for young artists in the future, you know?
It's a good goal, and it takes everyone working together. And it's not just about calling out the bad guys, it's about changing the whole system that lets that stuff happen in the first place. Expecting better from the industry, from each other, from ourselves as fans.
And that's a wrap on this deep dive. We went from a video and some lyrics to a much bigger conversation about fame, responsibility, and looking out for young artists. We gave you a lot to process, and hopefully it'll get you asking more questions, talking more, even after this is over.
It doesn't have to end here. Keep asking those tough questions, keep pushing for better, and most importantly, look out for one another.
Until next time, keep those interesting topics coming our way, and we'll be here to break them down with you, right here on The Deep Dive.